And he's the chief of this crew of yarn spinners. So, Gene, it's all yours.
Please, both of them, I think. Test, test. Can everybody hear me? Yes. All right, here we go. Welcome. Thank you for coming to Portland. A lot of you have traveled a long way, and we want you to know we appreciate your time and effort and support. Actually, I gotta add a little. I'm kind of an ad-lib type guy anyway, you know. But Oregon, I've been in every state in the United States except Hawaii, and I haven't been to Hawaii yet. But Oregon was the last one on the list. But I've only been here one time, and that was down there. What's that town outside of Boise where you had a traditional bow hunters thing? Ontario, something like that. That's Oregon, but I guess a long way from here. But I got to share with you a little bit, lighten up things a little bit. I got to tell you a little bit about my flight here. When Don and I flew out of Kansas City, which is about a 5-hour drive from our house. Anyway, I thought it'd be fun to wear a pair of handcuffs and put one handcuff on Donna's right arm and pretend she was my prisoner when I got on the plane, see? She didn't like the idea. In fact, I'm glad it didn't work out because we had seats across the aisle from each other. Anyway, I thought, well, if she won't do it, maybe I'll do it. And I couldn't decide whether to put the handcuffs on behind my back or in front of my back. And then it just didn't seem right, you know, what's a handcuffed guy with no escort there. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just wear the handcuff on my left wrist and let the other end dangle down and let everybody wonder about it. And Donna stopped me in my tracks with 2 words. She said, "You're going to have a cavity search." And it changed my mind real quickly. Anyway, I got another note here. I want to remind all you people that today is March 24th, exactly 9 months for Christmas. So if you want a little kid for Christmas, tonight is the night. What are you laughing at? It's not funny. I can't hear it. I know what's going through your mind. I'm out. All right. PBS is celebrating, and by the way, I'm going to have to be looking down here because I'm getting too old to memorize lines, and I don't memorize anything much better anymore. But anyway, I'm going to be reading a little bit here. But PBS is celebrating 50 years as an organization. 50 years, half a century. What is PBS? It's not a television network, as far as we're concerned. It's not a television network. What has it grown into after half a century? You know, it's a fraternity. You know, I still hear people nowadays, what is PBS? And there has been a kind of an identity crisis over half a century, I think. And but it's a fraternity or a brotherhood. It's actually a family of great Americans who love to hunt with bows and arrows. It's as simple as that. But there are responsibilities to go along with it as well, and that's what we need to cover. I like to think that we are very experienced, responsible, ethical bow hunters who hunt for all the right reasons. I happen to be the guy that came up with this logo, knowledge through experience. I don't remember how long ago, but it was a long time ago. PBS is not for everyone. All bow hunters, or all people that hunt with bows, do not really belong in PBS. I like to think of PBS as the special forces, or, you know, the Blue Angels, the best of the best, because we are. And it's just, that's who we are. Most of you probably don't know this, but I was turned down the first time I applied for regular membership. I got booted, or I didn't get booted, but I got rejected. And you know, I looked at it as kind of a eye-opener. You know, I had a attitude adjustment, had a long talk with myself, and waited a while and reapplied. And the second time I applied, they welcomed me with open arms. But it's we're often, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, we're often called elitist, but it's not really an elite thing as we are selected. I quickly learned that PBS members don't dwell on numbers or scores or any sort of personal recognition. The other guys might, but we don't. We're most about attitude, challenge, and personal satisfaction. As can be understood, we're all human beings. PBS members will never ever see eye to eye on everything, but most of us are blessed with pretty good levels of common sense and logic. That term, traditional values, does not translate into traditional equipment necessarily, even though the vast majority of our membership shoot stick bows. And I spelled stick bows without a Y, Dick. Anyway, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. The hardest workers in our passion are usually guys, the type of guys that shoot stick bows, and that's just the way it is. And there's no apology necessary for that. The key word in the term traditional values, as far as I'm concerned, is the word values. PBS, no, another key word, the word professional. I can't tell you how many guys have told me over the years that they thought Professional Bowhunters Society, or the Professional Bowhunters Society, was an organization made up of people who made a living shooting bows and arrows. That's not what it's about. The word professional, it probably costs us a bunch of potential members. Again, it has more to do with outdoor passion, attitude, and ethics. I've never personally missed a PBS gathering. I think this is the 14th, I believe it is. Let's take a show of hands, matter of fact. How many people in here have never missed any of the 14 gatherings? Many, or no, probably a few? There you go. Matter of fact, you guys stand up. There's only what, 3 or 4? I think most of the members of PBS try to give more back than what they take from the organization or the sport. And again, it has to do with pride. Some of you might not remember this, but I've written it before, and I know I'm going to get a laugh out of this one, because when Barry and I were in high schools, we were pole vaulters. All right, get over it. We actually owned our own poles, owned our own pit, built our own pit. Started out with bamboo, went to aluminum, and matter of fact, and that was about it was in the in the late 50s, early 60s, and that's when carbon. Or not carbon, what do you call fiberglass poles come along. And I jumped with a fiberglass pole probably less than a dozen times, and poles are not supposed to bend, bows are supposed to bend, you know, and I had to go back to the aluminum. But anyway, we were pole vaulters, and, but I thought it was interesting because we set our own bars and built our own pit. Not once, we never ever set the bar low enough that we cleared it every time. Nor did we set it so high that we knew we were never going to clear it. You know, the challenge is to put it just high enough where you cleared it once in a while, just often enough to challenge yourself. And it's that same type thinking that that's what PBS is about, challenge and challenging ourselves. And another thing too is, and this is the God's honest truth, is as far as I remember, as long as I remember, as many years as we pole vaulted, I don't ever remember us measuring how high. I hate to say it, but it wasn't bad. You know, it was pretty impressive. We could clear pretty high, but we never measured it because we didn't care. We had no, and this wasn't, we were in high school age, but we weren't on a track team. We just did it for fun. Anyway, this is the same type philosophy that makes PBS members click. Now let's celebrate half a century of pride. Happy birthday, PBS. Woo!